Hey everyone, welcome to the PFF Betting Podcast. I am your host, Kendall Valenzuela. With me, as always, the cheeriest Merry Christmas guy, Ben Brown, PFF data scientist. And we're going through everything Week 16 for you. We have player props, parlays, anytime touchdown scorers. So Ben, let's get into it. Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's just that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets if they score. You score with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So Ben, did you have a great Christmas? I hope you did.
Great Christmas, of course. I have 3 little ones at home, so obviously the time has been, slowly ticking away until we got to Christmas. So they open presents. I am in my Christmas pajamas here late at night on Christmas night. So, couldn't ask for a better day. I think overall the football has been, marginal probably at best right now. We'll see if the Colts end up kind of taking care of the Cardinals here on Saturday Night Football. But I'm definitely excited for this Week 16 NFL Sunday slate for sure. So
it should be a good one, and hopefully we're giving people some extra Christmas cheer, some extra Christmas gifts on a Sunday. That'll be nice. So I'm hoping that our props are good enough to do that. I think they are.
Definitely.
I think they are.
Definitely. I mean, we did miss, our podcast this morning. We were trying to get something out for the people. Player props were a little delayed. We had a little bit of, scheduling malfunction last night and this morning. But I will say, unfortunately, all of our player props would have hit if we would have just given them out. So it's maybe a little bit unfortunate, but I do think we can keep the momentum going here for Sunday for sure.
We'll keep going.
So.
All right, well, let's start with our tried and true. We are going back to it because when all else fails, we go back to the quarterback rushing prop. And that is what we are doing today. We like Joe Burrow over 6.5 rushing yards. This game has huge implications, right? This game matters, and I know Burrow knows that, and it essentially decides the AFC North division. So I think, for me, looking at this prop, anything and everything that Burrow can do with his legs to alleviate some pressure from everyone else, he's going to do it in this game.
Yeah, definitely. So he's gone over, 6 of 8 on his quarterback rushing props so far in 2021. I do think Ravens really high blitz percentage in the NFL so far. Haven't necessarily been all that great from a pass rush perspective. I think we have them 21st in pressure rate, 19th overall in our opponent adjusted pass rush grade. But they are going to be forced to blitz here at a really high rate. And I do think that's going to allow, Joe Burrow to get out 1 or 2 more times. Obviously, like you said, this game matters quite a bit to him. Joe Burrow does lead the NFL in sacks taken so far in 2021, so anything he can kind of do to negate those sorts of heavy negative plays when he does drop back to pass, I think is going to help him. And I do think it's also going to help him from his quarterback rushing prop perspective. So definitely expect him to get over what I think is kind of a relatively low number for him, 6.5 rushing yards, decent, minus 115, minus 120 price. So I like this one quite a bit. I think it's definitely got to be our favorite prop coming up here on Sunday.
I do too. And it has a 10.3% value on our PFF props tool as well. So I really like this one. I think we're starting off strong here. Like we said, it's a game with huge implications. So anything he can do, especially when they're blitzing at the rate that they're probably going to be, it's going to be Joe Burrow using his legs. Are there any other I have to ask, are there any other quarterback rushing props that you like? Or is this really the one?
You put me on the spot right away.
I'm sorry. We'll come back to him.
Well, I can run it here really quick. I did actually really like Baker Mayfield over 8.5 rushing yards. Of course, that one's pass. He did actually go over that, but we don't have a ton of value outside of those, right? We do have Matt Ryan over 4.5 rushing yards, but going up against the Detroit Lions defense, I do think that the Lions would probably have to play pretty close to where they played at last week, with them needing to lead in order for us to kind of see Matt Ryan go over his number. And then another spot that the player props tool kind of likes, Ben Roethlisberger over 2.5 rushing yards. Really heavy plus price. Of course, we saw him go over that last week. We did talk about it, but definitely not a spot that I really want to get too involved with as well. So I do think it's going to be, Joe Burrow or bust here from a quarterback rushing prop perspective here on Sunday afternoon. So
a favorite for sure. Well, another one we like too is Devin. So this one is interesting because you like Devin Singletary over 12.5 receiving yards. Yep. And he's kind of had an interesting year with the Bills as their running back. So I want to hear what you have with this one, because then I kind of have a counter to it as well.
Counter, and you're fading it basically.
Counter.
So
I'm not fading. I promise. I would tell you if I was fading.
So we have seen this one actually creep up a little bit. I think it opened up at 11.5. I really liked it then. I did write it up for a VSiN article that I do early in the week for player prop markets. But it's been a spot where he has been heavily involved, right? 90% of the team offensive snap percentage. He has ran a route on over 70% of dropbacks the last 2 weeks. So he is a guy that's heavily involved. I do think the Patriots are going to try and take away Stephon Diggs as best as they can. Guys like Gabriel Davis is out. Cole Beasley is out. So it's really going to be Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, and probably Dawson Knox. And then outside of those three guys, I do think it's going to be Devin Singletary, and I think he's going to be the guy that plays workhorse type running back snaps here on Sunday against the New England Patriots. So 13.5 receiving yards. He is a really good, I would say, running back out of the backfield, being able to kind of catch some of those passes. So I think this is going to be a pretty easy one. It has moved up 2 yards since the open. I still think you have, decent value on that all the way probably up to 15.5 receiving yards, if not 16.5. But this is a spot that I like quite a bit. I also like the Bills quite a bit here in this matchup. I'm wondering what you're thinking of as far as kind of how you see this game maybe playing out here.
I agree with you. I like the Bills. I kind of wanted to just get your take on any other players that you're watching, because we don't know yet about Emmanuel Sanders, right?
Right.
So we really don't know much about him. And like you said, I mean, they're going to be without Cole Beasley too. So I wanted to know if you had any other players that you were kind of honing in on for this game, because like Gabriel Davis did have increased snaps in back-to-back weeks, but like you said, he's out, I believe, right? Yeah, he's out. So if Sanders is out and that Cole Beasley's out, are there any other players that you're kind of honing in on that you might, so watch line or something?
Yes, we know Gabriel Davis is out. We know Cole Beasley is out. Emmanuel Sanders is kind of that questionable status right now while we're filming it. But, if those guys are all out, it does seem like it's going to turn more into the Stephon Diggs show, right? We do like him at over 6.5 receptions, plus 110 price. I think early on in the week, he was more along the lines of a 68.5 receiving yards prop number. He has moved up to 76.5, which is a pretty significant move, moving up 8 yards. I do think quite a bit of that is the fact that, a lot of guys from that Bills receiving unit is going to be out, but I still like Stephon Diggs here quite a bit, and I do think there is probably a little bit of value on Dawson Knox as well, but we like him probably to go under his receptions at 3.5 plus 115. I don't really love that play here, so I do think that I'd probably lean more toward trying to target some of the Bills overs from their pass catching unit, as opposed to probably trying to fade like Dawson Knox, given the expectation of who's actually going to be playing out there on Sunday.
That makes more sense. Because like gaining yards against the Patriots is hard for any receiver, especially it has been this season. So they allow the second fewest yards to opposing wide receivers. So I just wanted to know if you were, because when we were prepping for this, I didn't really know who else to turn to besides, like you said, Diggs was one to watch for, just because questionable, like while we're filming this, we don't know about Emmanuel Sanders. So I do like that play a lot. And I am with you. I do think the Bills come back with this one and take this game away, unlike the last game.
Yep. Yeah. And I will say, Emmanuel Sanders didn't have an injury designation yesterday. It does sound like even, a couple days ago, we did kind of expect him to play. They haven't, officially announced that yet, but it does definitely seem like everything is pointing toward him being on track to play. So at least the Bills will have, their top two wide receiver options, I would say, and then it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be, how involved is Dawson Knox. But there are definitely some injury concerns on both sides of the football, right, for this matchup, because the New England Patriots kind of dealing with some similar situations. Nelson Aguilar out with a concussion.
Yep.
It does sound like Kendrick Bourne is going to be back, and of course they're going to still have Jacoby Myers. So we'll see how productive either offense is in this match, but it could be, like you said, a little bit more of a defensive struggle fest in this AFC East showdown here for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a good game though. I'm excited for this weekend because we do have good games this weekend, so it'll be fun to watch. Another one we're hitting is Jamar Chase over. We're going to do this over 63.5 receiving yards. And I know you're holding your breath. I am too. So the thing is, they're playing against the Ravens, right? But it's turned into a weird pick because before this was a lock. Like week 7. I mean, he went off right in week 7, and then since then it's kind of been a little bit of radio silence. It's just been he's not been hitting this prop. So, but you like 63.5 and the over on receiving yards. Is it just because they're playing the Ravens, or
what
in
some ways? And I like this one a lot. A lot more earlier in the week. It actually has moved down a little bit, so we have seen some negative line movement away from my direction. 63.5. It is down to 59.5 as far as a consensus line. So I do think part of that is the Baltimore Ravens quarterback situation, right? With Josh Johnson at quarterback, are they going to be able to keep pace with a Bengals-led team that is now a 4.5-point favorite? That is kind of the question, right? Jamar Chase has been really big play dependent, and it hasn't necessarily turned out or shown out here over the last 7 weeks this season, basically since week 8. Of course, he did have that one drop that turned into an interception that would have easily had him go over his receiving yards prop in that matchup. But it's been tough. So I do think if they hit one deep, obviously that's going to be where he gets over this receiving yards number. But I am a little bit more concerned with the fact that he's not going to have as many chances here, given the fact that they're going to be starting Josh Johnson, for the Baltimore Ravens. So I like this play. I don't necessarily love this play. I do think there is probably quite a bit more value and other props probably coming up here on Sunday.
This one will be holding our breath a little bit.
Holding our breath the whole time. We need one big play, basically.
I know. I want to ask you though, because in your article you did say he's been hitting this kind of rookie wall. What are you attributing that to? Like when you're watching him and when you're looking at his lines and stuff like that, what are you thinking when you're looking at his props specifically?
Yeah, it is a good question, right? I do think some, even on early in the season, some of his big plays were not necessarily fluky, but they were definitely 50-50 balls that he ended up coming down with. He doesn't seem to be coming down with those plays over the last 7 weeks of the season. I do think T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and everybody else basically being back and healthy for that Bengals offense, obviously is going to cut in a little bit to his target share as well. T. Higgins kind of started the game off hot, and then Tyler Boyd was the guy that kind of finished the game out for the Bengals. So they definitely have a solid trio of wide receivers, and I do think that is probably, just knocking down his volume enough to the point where he was already kind of big play dependent. And if those aren't hitting, he's definitely going to be looking a lot worse than what he was early on to start the season. So.
Perfect. Well, someone who's kind of maybe not had the same storyline, but it has been odd especially this season, but that is Jerry Judy. And you were going Jerry Judy under 3.5 receptions. They have Drew Locke as their quarterback this week. Teddy Bridgewater took that pretty nasty hit, and he's still with that concussion protocol. But you like Jerry Judy to go under 3.5 receptions. And I cannot wait to hear you explain this because it's got to be mixed with Drew Locke coming in and playing and how just really they've been not utilizing Jerry Judy these past few weeks too.
Yeah, definitely. And it is an interesting spot because, last year when Drew Locke was in at quarterback for the Denver Broncos, his favorite target was Jerry Judy. Jerry Judy hasn't necessarily been involved since the injury situation that he had to kind of start or the midpoint of the season. So this is an interesting spot for me because I do actually buy into Drew Locke having a little bit of a successful game. If you look at some of the other content that I put out, the best last minute bets, I do think the Denver Broncos are probably going to win here in Las Vegas in that, later slot here. I do think they're going to play well. I do think Drew Locke's going to play well. Our player props tool likes him to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 155 price. We also like him to go over his 205.5 passing yardage prop as well. So maybe this is a little bit of a hedge, but I do think that guys like Cortland Sutton are going to be heavily involved. I do think Tim Patrick's going to be heavily involved, Noah Fant as well. So looking through everything, Jerry Judy could have a big game, and I think maybe that would also play into obviously Drew Locke being really successful. But I think it's going to be a little bit more of a Cortland Sutton show here on Sunday with Drew Locke. I do think he's going to probably hit one or two deep shots, and I think the Broncos are probably going to be in control of this matchup the whole time. So I do think that Jerry Judy could have a decent game and still go under 3.5 receptions, but given where his average depth of target is, I just think it's going to be a little bit higher hill to climb for him than any of the other Broncos pass catchers. So out of all of them, I'm probably fading them, but I am, kind of starting to rethink that based on the fact that I do think the Broncos are going to be relatively successful through the air here on Sunday. And, Jerry Judy specifically, I do think has a pretty difficult matchup against Nate Hobbs, who was out last week for COVID. I do think where his number was priced at probably included Nate Hobbs not playing, but he has been activated off that COVID-19 list. So I do think that could be a little bit of a detriment to Jerry Judy being the guy here for the Broncos offense on Sunday.
I agree. And I'm kind of with you on the Cortland Sutton train too, because I had written out Cortland Sutton to go over. When I looked at it, it was at 27.5 receiving yards.
Yep. Yeah, he was at 26
Oh, okay. I like that. Well, then shop around. But he's essentially, it's been weird because Sutton has been almost non-existent, especially the last, 4 or 5 weeks. So the most receiving yards he's had is 29 or 30. And it's just been a weird kind of, it's been a weird season for him, but I can see Sutton returning with Drew Locke coming back. What does Drew Locke have to lose? Not a lot. So he's coming in there to play for the Denver Broncos. He said he's gonna give it all he has. So I think he can return to maybe some relevancy with Drew Locke coming in at quarterback against the Raiders. We both know that Drew Locke really likes to push the ball down the field as much as he can. And whether it's between Cortland Sutton or Jerry Judy, they're both going to try and go up for all those deep balls. So I like his over 27.5 receiving yards. If we're going to fade Judy, you gotta hit it with something at the other end.
Definitely. Yeah. And we are kind of on a couple, Denver Broncos pass catching unders here. So Noah Fant and Jerry Judy, but I agree with you. I do think, Cortland Sutton's going to be at least more successful than what he has been previously. This is his lowest receiving yards number of the season. It's not because he's seen a cut in offensive snaps or routes run or anything like that. So he is still on the field. Drew Locke, we're going to see some YOLO balls here coming up on Sunday. If one of those hits, Sutton's going to be over there basically on one reception. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see Drew Locke maybe show out a little bit here. I have kind of a weirdly good feeling. I'm hoping that you can also help me manifest that here on Sunday. So.
I covered, for anyone that doesn't know, I covered the Denver Broncos for 3 years. And yeah, that was what a weird time stretch. To be in Denver. What a weird time to be in Denver. But you're right. I want to coin the phrase now, YOLO ball for Drew Locke, because that is what he does. But those receivers, with Jerry Judy, before how it worked, Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton, all those guys, Tim Patrick, all those guys were coming down with those, and he at some points looked good. So I don't know if he's going to look great. He kind of reminds me right now of, again, that Baker Mayfield graphic that we see where it's like the cycle of Baker Mayfield, where it's like, prove media wrong, beat an unbeatable team. So I think Drew Locke, he's probably going to do it because he does go in there with so much confidence. That it's a little bit.
That's one way of putting it.
Much.
That's one way of putting it. That's for sure. Right.
He's a very confident guy, but I like it. You know who's someone else that I like though too is Albert Okwuegbunam. He's their tight end, and if you don't think that Noah Fant is going to have a big game with Drew Locke, and this is totally random, and I didn't really prep this one, but I think Albert Okwuegbunam, I saw him before with maybe 18.5 receiving yards or something like that. So I don't know about it, but I think he's someone to watch because he's their number 2 tight end. But we do know that the Raiders covering tight ends, not great, right? So I think when they're facing the Raiders, they've allowed 880 receiving yards to tight ends. So I think that's someone to watch too if you want to think you could maybe get that at a plus price. But he's someone that has been coming up as of late. So he's been really fun to watch and could be fun against the Raiders with Drew Locke. I mean, Drew Locke is going to try anything he can to get it right. So I kind of like that one too.
Definitely. I mean, even the fact that you can pronounce his name correctly, I think is a good omen here coming up on Sunday. Something I cannot do, so I'm definitely riding that one with you for sure. So
Perfect. Well, Ben, do you have any other ones that you're kind of watching before the games?
Yeah, I do like 2 probably quarterback passing touchdown props. I do think Matthew Stafford over 2.5 passing touchdowns against the Minnesota Vikings. I haven't really shown any semblance of effective secondary play, especially at the cornerback position. So I think, Cooper Kupp's a guy that's going to be able to basically be open all game against that Viking secondary. So I like Stafford to go over 2.5 passing touchdowns. I also like Ben Roethlisberger under 1.5 passing touchdowns, minus 116 price. Obviously, the Chiefs' defense has looked really good of late. We have them as a top 10 unit so far here in 2021. I believe firmly that Mike Tomlin's probably going to be trying to establish a run as much as possible in this matchup. Keep both Ben Roethlisberger at bay and Patrick Mahomes off the field. We'll see if he's actually successful doing that. But I think any offensive plays that are actually successful from an EPA perspective for the Pittsburgh Steelers is definitely going to be coming from Najee Harris, not necessarily from Ben Roethlisberger. So him to go under 1.5 passing touchdowns seems like a really safe bet here for me on Sunday. So those are 2 other ones that I like. But other than that, I think it's going to be a fun slate here for sure. So
it's going to be fun. And I'm watching, if anyone wants anytime touchdown scores, Let's watching the Bucs. I am watching the Bucs because, they don't have Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. So I think the 2 players to watch, and they could be obvious, but Rob Gronkowski is still at a plus price at plus 130. Same with Antonio Brown, right? Because he's back too. So I think the numbers for those 2 both shouldn't be plus money, and I think they still are. So those are the 2 guys that maybe you can get some value with there. Maybe a Gronk times 2 for touchdowns. I don't know, but those are the 2. I know those are the 2 I'm watching though, because there's weapons down and they're gonna have to go somewhere. So maybe Leonard Fournette. Gosh, I don't know. No,
I like the Antonio Brown play for sure. I do think he's kind of the key to that Buccaneers passing attack.
He is.
Leonard Fournette's definitely banged up. I don't think he's actually going to be playing here on Sunday. So, I think that just opens up more opportunity for both Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown to probably be, even more involved, especially in the red zone area as well. So, I like that. I can get on board with that for sure.
It's going to be fun. While you're fading Ben Roethlisberger, you're like, don't touch his passing touchdowns. Don't touch his quarterback rushing prop either. Just don't touch it.
Can't do it. Not here. Not week 16. I think if the wheels are going to fall off, they're falling off here. So.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, Ben, thank you so much, as always, for hopping on. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you had a great holiday. We hope we are giving you some winners for the Christmas aftermath. Win some money on a Sunday. As always, check out pff.com/betting for all of Ben Brown's articles and all of our player props tools. And we will talk to you guys tomorrow.